World Cup knockout stages are here. My name is Corbin from the Parlay Club, and I've got the best bets and the plays the books do not want you knowing about. As always, drop a like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Let me know who you think is going to win, whether you agree or disagree with any of my predictions, and all of that. In this video, we're going to be breaking down all the knockout games. I think there's about 15 or 16, if I remember. Going to go over some futures again because obviously the lines have moved on the likes of the winners, who's going to win young player, top goal scorer, all of that fun stuff. Wimbledon video will be up shortly. That's the next video I'm going to get to after this. And then plays for both the next round of the World Cup, so the knockout stages, as we're talking about here, and Wimbledon plays will be up before the end of tonight. Let's get right into it. The first game is South Africa versus Canada. I mean, it's no surprise to me that, or it is a huge surprise that South Africa have made it to this stage. I had them finishing bottom of the group, and honestly, after that first game against Mexico, I don't know how they've qualified. I mean, they snatched a 1-1 draw against the Czech Republic with a penalty right at the end, and then, my word, I don't know what more to say about that South Korea performance against South Africa. I think they're really poor still. My opinion hasn't changed on South Africa in that respect, but I don't completely trust this Canadian team. And I think that kind of shows in the minus 145 price. Any half competent team, I think, against South Africa is minus 200 at least. Having said that, I forget which section it's in. I do like, it'll be this one. I do like this Canada draw no bet at minus 450. I think the Canadians have far more pace and organisation will be too much for them, for the South Africans. I don't like the win price at minus 145 because I have seen Canada multiple times play down to their opposition or not have the kind of cutting edge. But I think they at least draw this game. When I say draw, it's a knockout stage. So after 90 minutes, we go to extra time and penalties. I don't trust any of these teams or want anything going into a penalty shootout, quite honestly, or extra time. So draw no bet means if it gets to 90 minutes at this stage, then it's just a push, basically. I like unders. I think unders are a very good shout, and that's probably shown in the under 2.5 being minus 155. I see this being a 0-0, 1-0, 1-1 kind of scoreline. So I think you can probably do a nice little. Let's see if we do this. So we're going to take. We're going to have to remember, I think it's in game props. We're going to take Thai or Canada and then an under. Let's just do under 2.5. Minus 130. I like this as well. I basically think it's going to be low scoring between both teams, but I think Canada is the side that I'd rather be on than the South Africans. The amount of mistakes I've seen this South Africa team make, and now they're going to be in a knockout stage against a host country. I think it sets up for Canada, but again, all teams are going to be playing like their life depends on it. This is the biggest game the South African team will probably ever play at this stage. Moving on to the next game, we have Brazil versus Japan. My opinion hasn't really changed on either of these teams. I think this game has the potential to be really close. Brazil have improved significantly from game one against Morocco to games 2 and 3 against Scotland, and I think it was Haiti. But again, you have to look at the opposition that they've played. Again, Morocco on paper in the ranking is a top 10 ranking nation, whereas Scotland and Haiti are way down the list. I think the personnel changes helped a significant amount, which is what I wanted to see pre-tournament slash after the first game. They were playing Lucas Paqueta on the wing as kind of like a right attacking mid, and it just didn't work. So they've kind of brought him more inside, and they've brought on a right wing, like a right winger like Ryan or that kind of player to give them a bit more pace and attacking down the wings. I think the change from Igor Thiago to Cunha is a hugely significant one as well, and that showed in Cunha's goals. I don't like this Brazil team, but I think they're a lot more sure than I had them pre-tournament. Japan have just been as solid as I would have expected. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win, so plus 400 seems a pretty strong price. They obviously, I liked them to finish top of the group. They did draw with Netherlands, which is what I was hoping slash expecting. I just thought they might also beat Sweden, who they drew to. They're really solid defensively, this Japan team, and I think they could definitely frustrate the Brazilians in the way that Morocco did. And I think they have as much, if not slightly more, in the attacking phase than the Moroccans. But what I really like, I don't think DraftKings offer it. We will see in a second. Oh, they do. Is this Japan plus one Asian spread? So for those of you that don't know what Asian spreads means, it means it basically gives you options of a push as instead of a loss. So if Brazil win by one goal, so like a 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, then Japan plus one would push. If they draw, then Japan get the win, and if Japan lose by 2 goals, it's a loss. So yeah, I really like that Japan plus one Asian spread. In some places, if you want to parlay it, you can get a plus 1.5, get plus two, but plus one I think is a really solid play as well. Some other props that I would look at in this game. It's quite hard to normally find these kind of props on DraftKings, but let's see if they've got it. Total team. I quite like this Japan undercards. They're quite a disciplined team. They all get back into shape. They rarely give away those kind of big, nasty fouls, as they say, that lead to yellow cards. They're quite a well disciplined team, so I really like under 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 cards on them. And then also looking at shot props, there's only really one player you trust to get shots in this Brazil team, and that is Vinicius Junior. Again, I think plus two at minus 500 is a great parlay piece. So I'm looking at Japan to keep this close with the spreads, Japan under their cards, and Vinicius Junior to have shots for Brazil. But if I had to go, I'm going to go for a 1-0 Japan win. I think Japan have enough to frustrate the Brazilians, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Brazilians do come through. Next game, Germany, Paraguay. I'm really conflicted on this match. Germany, I think I predicted well in that their defense was poor and their midfield attack was solid, but nothing truly outstanding. Obviously they had that big first win against Curacao. That's kind of expected. They were just poor. Um, I mentioned about Undav, and he has definitely came in and made an impact to their team. I'll be interested to see. In the second game, he came off the bench to kind of rescue Germany against Ivory Coast. He scored 2 goals there, and then he started the third game. I don't remember him doing a whole lot. So they may go back to Kai Havertz up front, or it's going to be Undav. I would much rather go with Undav, quite honestly. Um, Paraguay, I haven't worked out in the slightest, I don't think. I don't like them going forwards, but I don't trust the Germany defense to keep a clean sheet. I forgot what the record is, but it's like going back to when they won the World Cup, they've conceded in every game. I might be wrong there, but I feel like I've heard that stat. And definitely cashed on because we had Ivory Coast to both teams to score in the game versus Germany. So yeah, they like conceding goals. Even against Curacao, they conceded. So yeah. Paraguay's defense, again, hit and miss, was good versus Turkey, but awful against USA where they got rushed pretty fast. If I had to have a play, I'd lean in the like Germany 2-0 range, but I'm not sure I want to lay the minus 295 on the Germans, which you can see again, 98% of the cash is on Germany and it's only minus 295. A bit suspicious to me. They probably do win, but I don't trust this German team in the slightest. Netherlands, Morocco. I've This is an interesting one. Like if you take out the results that they've had so far, this just screams an under to me. They both have such solid defense and midfields, but I just don't trust their forward lines. But then you look at the Netherlands games, and they've all been really high scoring. Uh, Keeps me off putting this as a client play, but they've had 4, 6, and 4 goals in their 3 games. I look at their forward line, and I'm like, how are they creating? But then you do have to look at the kind of teams that they've been coming up against. But they did still manage 2 goals against the likes of Japan. So yeah, initially I would go straight for the unders, but again, it's negative 140 for under 2.5 when the goals have been pretty goal crazy so far. So yeah, probably going to pass on this one. I'm not sure who I think is going to win. Again, I could see this going to extra time and penalties, which again means a toss up. Is there what is the draw? The draw at plus 225 is probably the most interesting play that I have in this match. Um, Ivory Coast versus Norway. In contrast to the game before, this game just screams overs. Well documented that Norway rested their whole team pretty much in the last game versus France in preparation for this match. I mean, they've got Haaland up front. Do I need to say much more? He's the best striker in the entire world. Both defenses are suspect at the best of times. I actually think both teams to score. I don't see where they have both teams to score. I will find it in a second. It's probably in this section. Both teams to score. There it is. Negative 150 sounds pretty good on paper to me. Again, two pacey attacking sides against two pretty awful defenses, I think. I'm a bit surprised. I just saw it up here that Norway is taking 91% of the money. They seem to have been the adopted team by quite a few people, including the Americans. I've seen loads of people. Like the Norwegian shirt is one of the most sold out. And don't get me wrong, I love the Norwegians. I love Haaland and all of that stuff. But again, 91% of the money in there plus 105 kind of tells me that the books are on the draw Ivory Coast kind of side, I think. And I can't blame them. I think it's probably going to be goals galore, maybe like a 3-2 to either team, maybe lean to Norway, but again, not playing the money line on either of those teams. On to France Sweden, which I think is the slam dunk of the entire round. France money line is all day for me at minus 360. Already have them locked into multiple futures, I believe, but I think they just run through this Swedish team who their defense is also awful, quite honestly. And you match that up against the most attacking, the most exciting attacking team in the whole World Cup, I think, with Mbappe, Elise, Dembele, and Doué. All it takes is one or two of those to be firing, and Sweden are going to be in trouble. Quite like the French overshot. Again, the only problem is who do you pick? We obviously saw Dembele get a hat trick in the last game, but you look at these numbers, it's like Mbappe will get his shots, Doué will probably get his shots, Elite will, but if I have to go anyone, it's Mbappe. I feel like he's the most greedy out of the front three. Also, kind of like the both teams to score, in that France defense, as I mentioned pre-tournament, can be a bit leaky. Sweden do have Gyökeres and Isak up front together. Again, any goal is probably going to come from those two. But I think even if they score, I think France win quite comfortably. What is France? I don't see what I'm looking for. I want France to win by over a goal. Let's just go for team goals. Again, it's basically telling you a story. They think that, or the odds are saying that Sweden get maybe 0-1 goals and the French are getting 2 or 3. So, yeah, if you can get France -1, Asian spread, that might be good as well. And I may look to play that. Next game is, let's go along, Mexico and Ecuador. Obviously, repping the Mexico shirt. They're the team that I support. I don't need to go into those reasons. To me, this is another game that screams to the under. And wow, these odds definitely show that. So it's plus 135 for under 1.5, and it's minus 225 for under 2.5. I mean, I don't trust this Mexican team fully. I mean, they've kind of been very stop-start. I've liked Quinones, but again, I struggle to see us flying in goals against this Ecuador team that has one of the best defenses. They're very solid. It's kind of flipped around. You want Ecuador's defense and Mexico's attack probably more so because Ecuador's attack just looks disjointed at the best of times. I lean Mexico to go through again. Wouldn't be surprised if this is 0-0 going into extra time and penalties as well. I think the under 3.5 at -700 is probably worth a parlay piece. Just off the top of my head, you put that with France and maybe. Actually, we'll probably get to the next best piece, but even like a Canada draw no bet, France money line, and Ecuador Mexico under 3.5 is kind of a play that I've made up on the fly that kind of sounds pretty good. So yeah, like Mexico's kind of balance is the best way I can describe what I like about Mexico. They don't have real flair players, but they kind of just work well together. Their defense has looked way better than it has in previous years. And Ecuador, I think, are going to go back to that kind of defense and counter attack. It's going to be like max of a 2-1, I think. So under the 3.5 sounds like a pretty good piece to me. And finally, in this section, we have England versus the DR Congo. So we've had a play on England in every game so far. We had England to what did we have? We had England Croatia under, and they had 6 goals, so lost that. Had England money line in the second game, they drew, and it was an awful showing. And then we had them to win in the third game, and they did. The biggest thing to note about England is they struggle to break down defensive teams time and time and time again. If they play, it almost feels like it would suit them more playing the likes of a Germany or a Croatia or a Norway, these kind of teams that are a bit more open and take the fight to them. When they come up against 8, 9, 10, 11 players behind the ball, they just struggle to break them down. And that's not really surprising when you look at the personnel they play. Like, they have quality players, the likes of Kane and Bellingham and Rashford and Saka, but none of these are those kind of like. You compare them to the French team, they're not or the Spanish, they're not the kind of like give and go 1-2s, flick around the corner, like innovative kind of football. It's kind of get it out wide. Oh, we might have a long shot. Oh, we might cross it, and just kind of hoping something happens rather than creating it. England have quite a few injuries in certain places, which I actually think may benefit them. Um, if they play Kwanzaa at right back, that's a huge loss. I would like to see them play Jed Spence there more. I don't think Spence is particularly good, but he's way better going forward than Kwanzaa, who's a subpar centre back at best in my eyes. And then Declan Rice looks to be carrying a knock, but again, you take that. Rice is that very kind of like box to box, very kind of defensive minded. He passes the ball sideways and backwards so much. I'd love to see him drive forward more, but in summary, I think all of this leads to more unders. This under 3.5 at -290 sounds pretty good to me. Because likewise, what I said for England's attack, their defense is really solid. I think the 2 goals against Croatia, I think, is an outlier, and I think they didn't. Did they concede in either of the 2 since then? I don't remember off the top of my head. But either way, I trust England to keep a clean sheet or concede 1 goal at most. So yeah, really like this under 3.5 at -290. The DR Congo, it's like they have pace up front. You can see they have the Vissa and Bakambu. Bakambu's now I think 34. Vissa's their only kind of hope, but then you look at our defense, we have more than enough to cope with this kind of Congo side, in my opinion. You can never get good corner props, I don't think, at DraftKings. They're not even up at the minute, but the DR Congo to score under 2 goals, under corners, is another kind of parlay options that you can put with either the -3.5 or any of the other pieces that I have previously mentioned. So yeah, I'd probably go. Sounds boring, but I'm probably going to go England 1-0 or like a 0-0, and then England winning extra time or penalties, quite honestly. Just want to mention what we've got up for clients. If you don't know what client plays means, these are the best plays that I've spent hours and hours researching and recommend that you bet yourself. So you buy a subscription, I send out daily what plays to bet, you bet them, and the plan is you win together. If you're new to this industry, again, reach out if you have any questions or anything you want to ask or explanations. I'm free and available nearly all the time on Discord, X, drop a comment if it's easier, whatever helps you. Uh, Running probably my biggest promo code that I have done. I'm doing code 50 for 50% off this monthly subscription in the middle. So only $35 for your first month. And that gets you the rest of the World Cup, the whole of Wimbledon, and any other plays that we have in likes of golf, darts, motorsport. We cover almost every sport, I feel like, other than the likes of baseball. That stuff don't really cover, except KBO, which I will be getting back into shortly. I can hold my hands up. It's been quite a bad month. Still around the plus 90 or unit plus 90 or 100 unit mark for the year. So it sucks in the short term. We've had quite a poor couple of weeks. Really unlucky. I haven't updated the spreadsheet yet, but you can come and check it out at some point when I get round to that. But it just shows the value of buying a long term pass and sticking with it. I've had I've been in this industry around 5 years, and I've made 50 plus units every year. Last 3 years I've made 100 plus units, and we're still around that mark given what has happened the last month or so. So yeah, I'd really recommend joining for a long time, really. And even if I lose again, you just got to stick with it. I mean, if I told you at the start of the year we'd be up 90 or 100 units, you would think great. And then if I told you the last month be down at like 30 or 40 units, that you wouldn't. Obviously it sucks, but you have to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture sometimes. I'm confident if anyone joins at any point for a year, that I will make them a substantial amount of money. And to prove that, I've extended all subs, or most of them, for losing clients that have joined over the last month or two for free. I kind of feels wrong taking money off people when I'm not making a profit. So yeah, highly recommend joining for a month. Code 5050 gets you 50% off. If you have any questions, come to my link me in the bio or comment section as well. Top one gives you a link to the DubClub to buy the plays, X, spreadsheet, TikTok, Instagram, all of that fun stuff. So yeah, any questions, reach out. Let's get back into the next game, which is Belgium Senegal. I mean, Belgium have been a painful watch. They've cashed for me, but thankfully, because I've taken the draw in most situations, they're just. You look at this Belgium team, their defense has looked significantly better than it has at previous tournaments. I really like them going for the younger, kind of more promising defenders as opposed to sticking with the old guard, which I guess they couldn't do any longer even if they wanted to. It's really the midfield and attack. Tillmans, Onana, De Bruyne, Trossard, De Ketelaere, they've all just kind of disappointed me significantly. It kind of makes this game really tough because I think Senegal are really hard to predict as well. They have good forwards on paper, but I don't feel like they've gelled as well as they could have. Again, their suspect has got good uh, players in kind of name value or like look, but again, it just looks a bit disjointed to me when I've watched them. I'd lean to the unders again just because how disjointed both attacks have looked. I think Senegal +1 could be a good shout because, as I've mentioned, they don't have it at DraftKings. But I mean, Belgium blew away New Zealand when they had to right at the end, but that's New Zealand. I wouldn't be playing the +115 on them. I think. Have they got the cards market yet? No, they don't. I really like there to be quite a few cards on offer. I think the likes of Doku, De Bruyne, they can all get fouled quite often, and then on the other side you have like Mane and Ismail Assar and Jai. I think it just leads to a lot of heavy challenges and yellow cards are on offer. That's probably my favorite angle in this game. Next game is USA versus Bosnia. I mean, I will hold my hands up for the minute. USA have shocked me in how good that they've been, but it's also hard to know what USA we're going to get. If they turn up like they did in Paraguay in that game one, they'll be out of sight in this game in the same kind of 20-30 minutes. They were red hot and they looked phenomenal. The press, the attacking, the width, the pace, the power, all of that kind of stuff. It'll put them outside, but then you look at some of their other, they haven't had that same kind of level. and you have to look at who they played to have that kind of level. They've played some really subpar opposition. Uh, and then, but on the flip side, you look at, I mean, Bosnia aren't exactly a great team. One win in their last eight, and that was a win versus Qatar in their last match to qualify. Loads of draws for them, and obviously the Swiss beat them 4-1. I could see a similar scoreline if the USA start off fast, and it wouldn't surprise me, quite honestly. Looking at some of the groups, let's find where are I've lost them. So yeah, USA have had two wins. I think they beat Australia and Paraguay, and then they lost to Turkey, although that was a heavily rotated team. I mean, I'm gonna side with the Americans. I certainly wouldn't be laying minus 270 on them. I think there's some bias from the Americans, but it's kind of like if they come out nervy, it gives Bosnia a chance to stick in the game. It's either going to be one of those like 1-0, 2-1, or it's going to be like the 4-1 kind of scoreline in USA's favour. So I'm going to lean USA, but again, wouldn't be particularly surprised whatever happens. Um, Spain, Austria. I mean, everyone's going to know my thoughts here. I love the Spanish team. I do like Austria, but I feel like they almost might have peaked 4 years ago. The Spain team should have too much for them. They're going to control the game. They have the speed. They have the passing ability. And I think they'll break down this Austria team. Austria lost 2-0 to Argentina, and I think the Spanish are way better than that. Austria really weren't in that game in the slightest. I think this Spanish money line at minus 340 is up there with the France money line. Again, I think we have France with Spain to go to the next round. But again, I think you could, let's just pull it up for argument's sake. Let's go. Have I got, are France minus 1100? No, it's too advanced. I was gonna say that completely tears that out. Minus 154 for this play. We have it slightly better if you did the future pre-tournament, but I really like both of these teams to win, quite honestly. Let's go back to the Spanish. So obviously Yamal is back. That made a huge difference after that first game where they were disappointing against Cape Verde. Orifable got the 2 goals, at least that I predicted, the cash a future. And I wouldn't overexpose yourself. You have to remember, just because you bet them future means that the money is still there. You can't go and have a 5% play on Spain if you've already got 5, 6, 7, 8% related to them in futures. You have to kind of be careful. I think Austria unders, I think under corners, and Spain to score, I think is all good stuff. The Spanish will control the ball, so it limits how much possession Austria have to get up the pitch. Spanish are good in wide defensive areas. They don't give away many corners. Again, there's no corners up at the minute on DraftKings, so I would lean, or not lean, I would love Spanish win and under corners for Austria. I think Spain go through 2-3 quite honestly. Moving on to Portugal versus Croatia. Again, I love the unders in this game. I don't trust either team's attacking wise, but defensively, I think they have enough. Minus 140 for under 2.5 feels pretty good to me. I really like that actually. Under 2.5 feels quite. The only problem that I hate with an under 2.5 is if a scoreline ends 2-1 to say Portugal or 2-1 to Croatia, because both teams are obviously going to push to win that game, especially in a knockout format. You look at Portugal again; their defense has been good. Their midfield is kind of what was expected, but they're struggling to break down these teams and have that real cutting, finishing edge. I hate to go back to it, but Ronaldo scored those 2 goals in that one game against subpar opposition, acted like he was back, and he's, the whole Ronaldo Messi debate, it's going to be, you see he gets asked about it in press conferences and he hates it. I think that Portugal are going to really suffer playing Ronaldo up front. He just doesn't have the speed or the movement. And against this Croatian team, I think they're going to pocket him, and that's going to help lead to the unders because I don't see where the goals really come from in this Portugal side. Likewise, Croatia, they have like meh to okay kind of level attackers, but I just don't see how they break down this team. Again, to me, the screams are 0-0, 1-0, going extra time and penalties kind of match. Another way you can look at it, I mentioned him. Oh, they don't have it up at the minute. Is Ronaldo to take 2+ shots? I think we've used it in 2 client plays so far, cashed both times. He's greedy. He'll take the free kicks. He'll take the shots from anywhere. And they always look to feed him, even though he's not the Ronaldo of old. So, yeah. Under 2.5 and Ronaldo to have 2+ shots is what I am looking at in this game. Switzerland, Algeria. Another one I find really hard to predict. The Swiss have looked good, but they struggled to finish and create. They create chances, but they struggle to take them. Algeria are hard to predict as well. They've had both good and bad moments. Maybe look to the overs in this one. I could quite see over 1.5 at -295 sounds pretty good. Over 2.5 plus 100 as well. I'd probably side with the Swiss and go like a 2-0, 2-1 kind of range, but I'd have to lean to the Swiss. I think fundamentally they've got way more about them than this Algerian side. Australia versus Egypt. I lean to the unders in this one. Again, I think Egypt probably win or draw this match, but there's no real value, I don't think, in it. I hate the word value, but there's no real. I don't feel like the odds warrant you chasing anything in this one. There's no real props I like on that side. Australia are a tough one to look for because, again, I think they're quite poor. I think both these sides are quite poor. I think Egypt's been more of a letdown than I and most people probably expected. Again, to me, screams like a 1-0. I think under 1.5, 2.5, same kind of thing. I like that, but wouldn't be surprised to just completely pass on this game full stop. Argentina, Cape Verde. Again, Argentina have surprised me with how good they've been. Messi has looked incredible, although a few of those goals are more to the keepers looking a bit suspect and the weird ball flight where you think the keeper's going to make an easy save and he ends up parrying it into his own goal. It's very interesting take from this World Cup is about the match balls. It reminds me slightly of the Jabulani ball. Not that it's moving, it's almost the speed at which it's coming at keepers. It's definitely one to keep an eye on. Obviously, Cape Verde came through their group with, I think they drew every match. Obviously, held Spain, held Uruguay. Can they keep this up and go for Argentina as well? I think Messi will have too much and break them down. I think Messi still has that kind of class and that low center of gravity to wriggle away from people and score. So yeah, I'm going to lean Argentina. I don't think it's going to be straightforward, but the problem with this game is, let's say Argentina get one ahead. There's no point in Cape Verde sitting back because they're going to go out. Which at that point, if Cape Verde pushes forward, it's then just going to leave so much space, and the Argentina would rack up the goals 2-3, 4-0, which makes it really hard to handicap because it can go either way very quickly. It could easily be the one where Argentina grind out a 1-0 win, or it could be the one where they score early and it kind of explodes. I don't. Messi shots. I haven't looked at how many shots. I mean, they're predicting 6+ basically for Messi. I can't take any player to have 6+ shots. So yeah, I guess it's another pass in that game. If it could be a live bet. I think Cape Verde's legs are going to run out at some point, and I think it will probably be here, particularly from like the 70th minute onwards. And then on to the last game of the knockouts, Colombia versus Ghana. Not sure why it's not loading any lines here. Oh, they only have the. Oh, there we go. I love Colombia here. Colombia being one of my biggest surprises, actually. I thought they would be good. I didn't think they would be this good. They were bossing that game against Portugal. Couldn't find the winner, but they definitely looked the more promising to me. They struggle to finish sometimes, but I think they have a lot more energy to control and dictate this game. Ghana, to me, are a very poor side. They've only beat Panama. I love this minus 180 on the money line, but my favorite piece, again, I love this tie no bet Colombia at minus 575. They'll be well rested. They get 5 days rest. They've played a great group stage. They're really solid all round. The defense of Colombia's look good. The wide areas, James Rodriguez, Luis Diaz, and the striker Suarez. I I think this leads to a Colombia win. I think Tino Bet is pretty generous because I don't see a world in which Ghana are gonna probably score, let alone win the game. What is? Have they? Wait and see if this loads. Again, I think Ghana under half a goal at minus 124 is a pretty good play. I really think they're going to struggle in this matchup. Let's quickly see what odds have shifted in the futures. So obviously the big shortener is France and Argentina. I don't buy the Argentina side just because of the who they've had to play. They've played some really poor sides. Can Messi do it for another what would it be, another 5 games against some of these top teams? I think Argentina are going to struggle. Spain are the big losers in this kind of debate. They were up there with France, and I still have them up there, quite honestly. The French have looked fantastic. I can't deny that. So to me, it's still the French and the Spanish. I kind of put all these other teams out of it. What else do we have? I've already mentioned to reach the quarterfinals. Again, similar theme. Love France, love Spain. Uh, they actually have quite a tough draw, I think, on the side of the bracket. I can't remember off the top of my head. I guess it will show me in this bracket section if I load it up and it actually does anything. So if France win, which I expect them to do, they play Germany in the next round. Again, I think they beat Germany, but it's a lot harder than, say, the Netherlands winning and playing Canada, for example. The Spanish, if they go through, play Portugal or Croatia, which sounds tough on paper, but again, I think they run through these kind of teams. Um, it kind of also like Mexico will play England, which will be always a fun debate. Argentina, I guess why that's so easy. You look, if Argentina win, they play Australia and Egypt. They'll be a heavy favourite for that, and then they'll play the winner of Switzerland, Algeria, and Colombia, Ghana. So in my head, like a Colombia Argentina game. So I guess that's why the odds have shortened for Argentina because their side of the bracket draw is going to be a lot easier than the top half for sure. Top goal scorer, I think it's Messi. Messi's the favorite for the top goal scorer. I was going to say that I didn't agree with this just because of what I said before about the Argentina part, but you look at those teams he's got to play, and I think, you can see here, he already has one more goal lead. Norway won't make it too much further, I don't think. I think it's probably Mbappe or Messi that we have to worry about unless Kane can get going again. But I've mentioned England's kind of struggles in that department. They had other props, but I can't find them right now. But I will talk about them because I saw them earlier. So I had Yamal. Oh, it hasn't. Why does it? Is it in future? It's under player futures. This is what I was looking for. Player of the tournament again could well be Messi. I feel like he has to reach the final at least to win this. Otherwise, it's probably going to be one of these French boys. Golden Glove again leads to Martinez just because of the strength of schedule that Argentina have, particularly in the next 1 or 2 games in the knockouts. I think young player of the tournament to go to Yamal at plus 175. Again, I keep mentioning I think the Spanish go far. He's like the standout young player. You look at some of these other players. I cannot say his name. Budai. He's played well for Morocco, but if they only go another round or two, he doesn't stand a chance. Diamande plays for the Ivory Coast. He'll be out relatively soon. Like, these players are good. I like them as young players, but Yamal is the attacking standout. It's either going to be him or Doué, I suspect. And that wraps up my preview for the knockouts. I will try and be here try and do another video for the next round to preview those. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you disagree, if you have any questions, want to learn more about client plays, all of that fun stuff. Promo code 5050 gets you 50% off a monthly subscription for your first month. Again, this is the biggest discount I think I've ever done. Would highly recommend jumping on, if not just for Wimbledon alone, which has been a huge success over the last few years. Tennis majors are really where I do my most damage, and that starts tomorrow as well as these games. Actually, these games start tonight at 8 p.m. UK time. So in 2 hours from when I finish recording this. Yeah, recommend jumping on. Code 50 gets you 50% off. Any questions, queries, anything, let me know. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Good luck.